Hey, what's up, everybody? We are back again, and today we're going to be talking about two artists who don't have very much in common besides one factor that's unfortunately very common in the underground. And these two artists in particular go by the name of Prettifun and A14. Now, if you watched my channel at all in the past, you're probably aware of who A14 is, but are probably less likely to know who Prettifun is. And that's because he comes from the new wave of the underground, making more melodic music that's heavily influenced by Playboi Carti, which is pretty common for anybody who's blowing up in the modern day, whereas A14 makes more loud and aggressive music, a style that was popular a couple years back, but in recent times has definitely fallen out of favor and is no longer really gaining traction anymore. However, even though the style of music that he makes isn't really all that popular anymore, he has managed to build a pretty cult fan base and Prettifun, even though he's a more recent artist who's only had a couple years to really grind out music, also has a pretty dedicated fan base, which is something that any upcoming artist dreams of having, but unfortunately it seems like the two of them are really taking it for granted because they both committed the unforgivable sin of scamming somebody in their own audience, and that's exactly what we're going to be looking into today. But you know what's even worse than being scammed by your favorite artist? Being constantly bombarded by annoying spam calls and emails that do nothing for you and only waste your precious time that you have on this planet. But what if I told you there's actually a way to get them to stop calling you? And I hear you asking, how do you do that? But that's not actually the right question. Instead of asking how, you should be asking how? How do these people even get your phone number in the first place? Well, it turns out there's a group of people online called data brokers who spend all day finding your personal information and then selling it to the highest bidder, making billions of dollars while doing it. And they do all of this without your knowledge or consent, but there actually is a way to get them to stop. You can simply ask. However, of course, this process is very tedious and annoying, but that's where today's sponsor comes in, Aura, because they do all the hard parts for you by taking all your personal information offline. And let me tell you, they work, because I've been using them myself for the past couple months and they've really helped to clear up my inbox of annoying spam emails, and spam calls have all but stopped. So if you want the peace of mind that I have and you want to start taking your online security more seriously today, then use my code TwistedWorld at Aura.com to get a 14-day free trial and take your online privacy back today. Thank you to Aura for sponsoring the video, and without further ado, let's get into the scams. So we're going to be kicking things off with Prettifun because he's blown up a lot more recently than A14, and because of that, his fan base is growing by the day, and it's a lot more likely that he'll be able to scam more people if he really is that type of guy. But before we get into the scam that he pulled, I want to give you guys a little bit of context of who he even is in the first place, because some people have accused me of not even knowing who the people are that I do scam videos on, which is kind of fair. I mean, I'm not a diehard fan by any means, but I definitely have heard his name popping up quite a few times in recent years. So Prettifun, or Mikey as some people call him, is an artist who hails from North Carolina and really started to find fame around the years of 2023 to 2024. However, before he started to gain attention for being a rapper, he was gaining attention for his production credits, with him working heavily with another upcoming artist going by the name of Che, or Shay, not really sure which one. And already I can tell we're starting to go down a bit of a rabbit hole, because some of you are probably asking, who the hell is Shay? I've never heard of him before. Well, like I said, he's another artist who's really been taking off in the modern day. I initially became aware of him after he did an interview on Mascarilla, and recently he's actually even got a Lyrical Lemonade video for the track I Rot, I Rot. And I did actually listen to the track when it initially came out, as well as recently for the purposes of this video, because after all, I got to be researched on the new generation, and well, it's probably not all that surprising if you know my musical taste, but I was definitely not a fan. However, I have heard from Shay fans that that's not really his best work and that I should listen to a couple other tracks before I really decide if I'm a fan or not, which I went on to do by listening to some of the more popular ones. And I'm going to be honest with you, Chief, all of his music kind of sounds the same to me, but that's probably because I'm an old head and my brain is dying by the minute, so I can't understand this new experimental type of music. But screw it, we're not here to talk about Shay and his music. All you need to know is that he's a pretty poppin' rapper, and because Prettifun was working with him so heavily back in the day, he also was able to gain quite a bit of clout. And ever since he put out his self-titled album, Pretty, I've been seeing his name pop up left and right. First of all, he got an interview on Kids Take Over, and he was also part of that recent underground cypher, which is supposed to replace the XXL freshman list of this year. And honestly, he was probably one of the better artists in the entire thing, top 3 for sure. But going back to that interview for a minute, Prettifun would actually reveal that he was able to quit his 9 to 5 to pursue music full time, which definitely has to be a pretty cool feeling. I couldn't imagine. But unfortunately, it seems like not all the tactics that he employed to get there are what you would call ethical, because he unfortunately ended up scamming one of his very own fans. So without further ado, let's get into the DMs and see what went down. So this all pops off in October 2024, right before Prettifun really started to gain momentum. I mean, he definitely was bubbling under at this point, but he was nowhere near the level that he's at right now. And he ends up getting hit up by a fan saying, "Need you on my album, can 350 get me a feature?" And honestly, I'm not even gonna lie, I feel like 350 is way too high. However, I did talk to this guy a little bit, and he told me the reason that he paid so much is because he saw a lot of potential in Prettifun to blow up in the next couple years, and because of that, he really wanted to get in early and get a feature from him because he thought it would pay off in the long run. Kind of look at it like I and Little Gut buying a Little Pump feature for $500 back in mid 2016. At that point, Pump wasn't really popping yet, but it ended up paying off big time once he ended up going mainstream. Now, am I telling you that Prettifun is going to become the next Little Pump? Well, honestly, I couldn't tell you because I really don't understand why a lot of these upcoming artists get popular in the first place. So probably not, I would say, but it could happen. But either way, it seems like he's okay with the 350, going on to say 350 works and do you take Cash App or PayPal? And if he's going to give you the option between the two, definitely take PayPal. That's the only way that you can ensure that your money won't be stolen. But unfortunately, he takes the wrong choice, saying, "Yo, sorry I fell asleep early as fuck. I can send the money on Cash App." After that, he doesn't get a response for about 5 hours. He says, "Bet, let me know when to send the money. My bad, I fell asleep, but send it here and then email me the song at this email right here." He says, "Bet, I'm actually recording a verse tomorrow, but I'll send the money right now." And that's his second mistake, because honestly, you should probably wait to send the money until you have the verse ready to go. I mean, I get it, you're trying to make a good first impression by sending the money up front, proving that you're not here to waste his time and you actually are serious about making the song, but at the same time, with you sending the money so early on, you're definitely playing a dangerous game. I mean, from everything that I've seen of Prettifun, he doesn't seem to be a drug user, but at the same time, he definitely could be doing it behind the scenes, and it's definitely possible that he's going to take your $350, go buy a bag of crack, and you'll never hear from him again. And that's kind of what ends up happening, because he ends up saying, "Bet, just let me know when you send the song." He says, "Sounds good, bro. Can't wait to hear you snap. I want to cop beats too." And at this point, if I was Prettifun, I'd be geeking out. I mean, first of all, $350 for a verse, and then after that, he's going to give you more money to buy beats. Apparently, at this point, he was working at the equivalent of a Walmart, so you would definitely think that he'd be on top of getting this money as fast as he could. But after he receives the money, he doesn't answer for a couple days, and the other guy says, "Recording tonight, can I shop some beats for the stew tonight?" He doesn't get a response, gonna send over tonight on October 30th. He finally ends up responding saying, "Fuck, I'm so sorry, I've been sick for the last couple days. Bet, just text whenever you sent it." And at this point, I don't really care that it took him a couple days to answer, as after all, the guy hasn't sent the song yet, and it's not like he can really do anything until he gets the open verse. Once again, I probably would have sent the money and the verse at the same time, because that's the best way to get it done and knocked out as soon as you can. The guy then replies by saying, "Sounds good and no worries, I'll get some whenever you're feeling better, this shit gonna be fire." After that, he ends up sending the song a little bit later in the day, and then he doesn't get a response until October 31st, where he says, "Did you get the song?" After that, he gets no response for 2 days. He said, "Yo, did you get the verse?" On November 30th, he says, "Can I get an update?" After that, he says, "Yo," and then he goes on to call him. He then replies to the prior message saying, Bet, just text me whenever you sent it," with him saying, "It's an impossible mission right now, bro," laughing emojis. On November 4th, he says, "Bro, can you stop ignoring me?" before he then goes on to call him again. And at this point, I would say chill out a little bit. I mean, you only sent him the song about 4 days ago. It's not like he's gone completely ghost on you yet. But this actually gets a response from Prettifun, with him saying, "Yes, I indeed have gotten the verse. My computer screen has been broken for the last week though. I apologize. I'll get it fixed this week. I was just saving up." And honestly, I can't believe that this actually happened. I mean, it does sound like kind of an excuse, but at least he didn't ask this guy to pay for the repairs. If you guys remember, all the way back in 2023, I did a video on Netspend scamming his own fans, and he actually ended up telling one of them that his mic was broken and then asking for another $25 to get it fixed, and then he still ended up scamming the guy. So yeah, he definitely did him dirty. However, it seems like Prettifun has the funds to fix his own computer, so the guy goes on to say, "Sounds good, keep me updated please, hype to drop this shit, I'm pushing my project back for this." After that, he ends up replying to his story on November November 6th before then going on to say, should I expect a verse back before or after new music? He doesn't get a response for another week, so he goes on to send a post. Not sure exactly what this was, but I'm assuming it was probably a meme or something. After that, he doesn't get a response for 11 whole days, and he says, hey, sorry I've been blowing you up. Can I get an update about the feature? No response. Got me the verse now? No response. He says, I know you got me. Can't wait for the verse. Take your time. He then doesn't get a response to that either. Bro, let me know about the feature, please. And at this point, Prettifun is starting to gain a lot of momentum, so the guy's probably worrying that he's going to forget about him altogether. He ends up calling him again. He says, yo, gang, yo. And unfortunately, it seems like he never gets a response. And even to this day, in 2025, Prettifun has never responded to him. He never got his money back, and he never even got the verse. And would I say that Prettifun is a scammer because of this? Well, kind of, but I also feel like he might have not intentionally did this. He probably ended up taking the money, was focused on getting his computer fixed, and then completely forgot about the DM conversation, which is definitely not an excuse. I mean, if you take $350 from somebody, you definitely have to deliver on the feature, but it could be a misunderstanding. I'm hoping that if Prettifun becomes aware of this video, he ends up paying the guy back or giving him the feature. It probably is a big misunderstanding, unless of course there's proof that he's been scamming other people as well. But until I see that proof, I'm not going to call Prettifun a full-blown scammer, but I guess we'll see what the future holds, because Fresh Boy Swag has actually been giving people their features back recently, so maybe the world really can change. Or maybe artists only want to give things back when they're playing damage control, but either way, as long as people are getting what they paid for, I'm happy, they're happy, and well, I don't know, hopefully you guys are happy too. But whatever, that's Prettifun covered. Now let's get into Afourteen, the reason that a lot of you probably came to this video. Now, if you're not aware of this guy, he really started to gain a lot of attention around 2020 for becoming a member of Spider Gang. And if you don't know about Spider Gang, it's a collective that's comprised of about 13 to 14 artists and producers, with the most popular being Christ Dillinger as well as Little Darky. And Afourteen ended up being discovered by the group right around the time that it was really blowing up, with him only being around 18 years old at the time that he joined. And during this period, the group was definitely known for being pretty edgy, putting a lot of controversial themes within their music. I mean, even Little Darky's popular avatar definitely seems to take heavy influence from racist cartoons from the 1930s. I mean, in recent years, he's given it a different meaning, but that's basically what Little Darky does. He does something edgy, and then once he gets popular for it, he goes on to say that it's not actually edgy and it actually has a deeper meaning. And that's because as time goes on, Darky has moved farther and farther away from these more edgy topics, although during 2020 when Afourteen came into the mix, everything was definitely very edgy. So it's not very surprising that an 18-year-old that blows up off of edgelord shit will become a not very well adjusted adult, with him recently getting into a beef with another artist going by the name of It's Brokey, with Afourteen basically only taking issue with them because they're trans, and then doubling down, tripling down, making diss tracks before them walking it all back and kind of looking pathetic in the process. I mean, fuck it bro, if you want to be edgy, but trying to walk it back after you've already went that far is kind of corny, and this would lead him to get clowned by their audience as well as his own, because honestly there's probably a lot of crossover there. And this would even break the connection that him and Little Darky had, because he ended up getting unfollowed by him and they seemingly no longer talk, with Darky now moving on to other projects like God Hand USA, which he's doing with Brahma God instead of Afourteen. So losing all your connections in the underground and being left behind by your inspiration definitely has to be a pretty bad feeling, and the only way that he can cope with it is by scamming his own fans. And I believe this all took place around 2023 or possibly 2024. Either way though, it's definitely been a pretty long time. And this all pops off on November 20th with the guy saying, are you currently still selling features Afourteen? And if so, how much? He responds by saying $500, and he says, I'll think about it. I'm not gonna lie to you, fuck no. $500 is way too much for an Afourteen feature. I probably pay around $250 at most, and depending on the year, probably even less than that. I mean, a well-timed Prettifun feature could probably get you a little bit of attention if he was recently popping off, but an Afourteen feature is going to get you absolutely nothing. Unless the guy ends up sharing it on his story, you might get a couple more plays off of that, but at this point, I would say don't buy features from anybody in Spider Gang, because for the most part, except for Christ and Darky, they're not really on top anymore. After that, the guy goes on to say, hey, by the way, I forgot to ask, do you work with budgets? Like, what's the lowest that you'll go? He says $4.99. He says, this guy funny, and honestly, I don't really blame Afourteen for responding like that. If you want $500 for a feature and somebody goes on to ask, what's the lowest you can go? That's probably the response you're going to get, because after all, you're kind of devaluing their work. I mean, I know that an Afourteen feature isn't worth $500. You know that an Afourteen feature isn't worth $500, but Afourteen doesn't know that. After that, a month goes by and the guy says, but I'm actually still down for real. Just need to get a beat and make an open. Do you use PayPal? If so, what's your PayPal? He says, yeah, I got PayPal. You got any other payment methods though? And honestly, it's already a red flag, but whatever, the guy continues to hold his ground. Afourteen says, if not, we can use PayPal. I was curious though. I mostly just use PayPal. Okay, cool, no problem. So what is it? He says it should work through my email. He goes on to send the email, and then after that, he says, sent the money. I'll get you the beat soon. Bro, what are you doing? Get him the beat right now. You've already paid him $500 to do a feature, and he's kind of being a little bit weird. You should definitely be getting him the beat immediately. He says, also, can I use the same email to send the beat to? Yes, sir. Just send it to the same one. And then he goes on to send a heart emoji. He says, hell yeah, bet. I'll keep you updated about it. Okay, I'm gonna send the beat now. Can you go up to 124? And when are you free to record also? He says, yeah, I got you, gang, and probably before Christmas. Thank you so much. And then after that, he doesn't end up replying to him until after Christmas. He says, hello, if not before Christmas, what about now? He says, I'll get on it for sure, gang. Just got busy with holidays. My fault. Yeah, I assume. No worries. And honestly, pretty good excuse. I mean, everybody gets busy around the holidays. After that, he doesn't respond for another 3 days, but surprisingly, Afourteen goes on to say, gonna get it over to you within the week, my man. Just wanted to update you. Hell yeah, thanks for keeping me updated. But then after that, another 4 days go by and he says, hello, will I receive anything like today or tomorrow? Because the week is almost over. But unfortunately, after that, Afourteen goes ghost. He says, Afourteen, are you active, Afourteen? Afourteen, snake, snake, snake. But no, for real, Afourteen actually did scam him. He says, you missed 2 deadlines for it, you don't seem serious about it, and you stopped responding. You can refund me at this point, I requested it. But he never gives him the money back, he never gets the feature, and at this point, it's been like a year. But you know what, maybe like Prettifun, Afourteen didn't mean to scam the guy, maybe he forgot about it. Once again, I would have to see more proof that he ended up scamming multiple people before I hit him with that title of being a scammer. So for right now, both of these guys definitely fucked up. They definitely took advantage of their fans in one way or another, but I wouldn't really say that they're terrible people. But that's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And with all that said, if you enjoyed the video, leave a knife emoji for old time's sake. One final time, shout out to Knife Gang, subscribe to the channel. And with all that said, I will see you in the next one. Peace out. Black Crate video is coming eventually. This year for sure. Bye.